and then we can kick things off. Yep, good one. I'm seeing it on my end. Looks good. All right, guys, welcome to an art business workshop. My name is Patrick. I run the marketing department here. Been doing that for 6 years now and change. So that means I've been spending inordinate amounts of time trying to solve the problem that everyone on this call has, which is, how do you grow a bigger and better art or photography business? And specifically, how do you apply modern marketing techniques and tactics to do so? In addition to working on this problem for 6+ years, and it's a very unique problem, right? Art and photography and wall art in particular, it's not like selling normal e-commerce items. There's quite a bit of tradecraft and nuance to it. The sale doesn't really follow a lot of the same rules that a lot of these other items do. In addition to that, I've been running 3 of these sessions a week since before the pandemic started. I always say this on these calls, and I don't think I'm being hyperbolic when I do so, that I probably talk to more artists and photographers on a week in, week out basis than just about anyone alive on this planet. I bring that up to say you do that for any period of time, pattern recognition becomes a real thing. I've seen it all and I've heard it all at this point. In addition to that, Art Storefronts has a little bit over 5,800 customers. And it's sort of an amazing situation now because we study their data quite intently. And we have an entire department. We meet on it weekly. And we look and we get to see who is selling the most originals, who's selling the highest priced originals, who's selling the highest volume of originals, who's selling the most commissions, who's selling the most prints, who's selling the most metal prints, the embellished prints, who's selling the most classes, who has the biggest offline business, who's moving the most prints, who's the best at Facebook and why, who's the best at Instagram and why, what does their data show, what does it look like, how many leads do they have, does 1 million Instagram followers equal a bigger business than 5,000 Instagram followers? And I really, that part of it, and I'm going to bring up the whole reason why I'm bringing this up in just a second, but that part of it is really proved to be absolutely staggering when you actually have the real data. It's sort of like, you imagine your town, right? And you see everyone living their lives the way that they are, but you work at the local bank where everyone banks. And, you get to see who's talking a big game and who's not talking a big game and who's driving a flashy car and who's not driving a flashy car. And it's like, well, wait a minute, I can see all your bank balances. So I know who's lying and who's not, right? It's a weird way of thinking about it, but it's profound when you actually get to see the data of who is actually making the sales and doing fantastic and who is not. And there's a ton of surprises in there. And I bring all of that up to say, regardless of whether you ever do business with Art Storefronts, okay, whether this is your first session, you're just learning, or you've known about us for a while, I want this session to be valuable to you. I want you to be able to leave with something that you can start working on that's actually going to make an impact in your business. And I believe that we're in a unique position based on experience of doing this for a while, as well as having the data to be able to answer those questions. So I can't wait to get into the Q&A portion of the session. So, what we're going to do is, number one, I'm going to kind of give a little bit of a presentation on, what I think everyone needs to understand about what's going on in the art and photography market, what you need to pay attention to, some sort of rules of the road, and what I think are a set of characteristics that you need to have in your business in order to be successful. That presentation sits on top of the demo process. The demo process is where it's the test drive of everything that we do. You request a demo on the site, or you click the link in this chat, or any of the links we have everywhere, and somebody from our outreach team will call you, find out about you, learn about your business, see if you're a good fit. If you're a good fit, then they schedule a demo. The demo is a Zoom session one-on-one with somebody from our outreach team that walks you through the entire software, all the bells, all the whistles, all the marketing. You can ask all the questions. They know everything in depth about pricing and this and that and the other. But I think what I present today is an important sort of first step before you go and get a demo, or maybe you've had a demo and you want to learn a little bit more, so you're here. So that's what we're going to do. A couple of just quick programming notes, and then we'll get into it. You'll notice at the bottom of your Zoom bar, there is a chat feature, right? And you can throw questions in there at any point in time. If you've got something on your mind or you need something answered later, the way that it works is we'll go through the presentation. Sometimes we'll answer the questions in chat as we're rolling along immediately. Otherwise, once I get through the presentation, I will get all of those that are there. If you're one of the ones that is watching on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or LinkedIn, I see those questions. I see those comments. We bring those right into the show as well. So if you're watching along at home and you have a question and you would like to chime in, I see those. So on that note, we'll just go ahead and get started here. Let me get set up, make sure all my things are working. So, I said this presentation sits on top of the demo request because this is just some critical things that you need to know about this industry and how to be successful in it. And I've come up with this concept that I call the art selling pyramid, and I call it the path to a successful art business in 2021 and beyond. Now, I stole the pyramid thing from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm not sure you're aware of this thing, but this is Maslow's pyramid. The idea is that you take it one block at a time. You have to sort the ones on the bottom and then you can go up to the next one, right? So in Maslow's case, there's the physiological needs, which is your daily quotidian needs. You have to eat, you have to sleep, you have to do that daily. Afterwards, you're up to the next block. You're working on safety and shelter and, the wealth and exercise, and then love and belonging, esteem, up and up and up, self-actualization. You're an amazing human. Fantastic. So that's the concept. This is the art selling pyramid. And the bottom block of the art selling pyramid is attention. Attention is the currency of the land that we live in right now. With attention, you can do anything. Without it, you're not in the game. And I know conclusively that every single solitary person on this Zoom call right now, your biggest problem, okay, is you don't have enough attention. You don't have enough eyeballs on your art or your photography, okay? Everyone thinks that being a successful artist or being a successful photographer is a meritocracy on how good you are at your craft of creating art, of creating photographs, of capturing images. Sadly, nothing could be further from the truth. It's not. It is a meritocracy on your marketing. Full stop. The best art, the best photography doesn't win. The best art, the best photography that gets seen wins. It is a meritocracy on how good you are in marketing. Attention is the currency of the land. It comes in two formats. It comes in the rented varietal and the owned varietal, okay? The rented varietal is everything that you see out there in the socials. Facebook fans, Instagram followers, or I guess it's the other way around, Facebook, whatever, I mess it up sometimes. YouTube subscribers, people that you have LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever you have going on. Those are the rented varietals. The rules can be changed there at any point in time for any reason. There's nothing you can do about it. Our job is to get as much of that rented attention into the owned column. What is the owned column? Email addresses, most prominent form. Snail mail addresses if you're doing, any type of mail marketing. You could even say phone numbers is a form too, although most people don't do text marketing. But that's attention, rented and owned. And I love taking it out of the art world for just a second and kind of giving this analogy. If I was going to ask you, who are some of the most powerful people in the world, powerful women in the world, what would you say? There's a bunch of different answers to that question. There's no one right answer. But I'll tell you right now, some of the most powerful women in the entire world are the Kardashians. The Kardashians. Why? Because those girls understand that attention is the currency of the land that we live in. You can argue about how they got that attention, right? But what you cannot argue is what they've done with it. All of those women have $100 million businesses. One of them is rumored to be worth $1 billion. Let's just say they've not flown commercial in the last 10 years, okay? Those women, any of the one of them, today, tomorrow, could decide that they're going to become a painter or they're going to become a photographer, and their business would probably sell $10 million worth in the first year because attention is the currency of the land. Those ladies have it. They've got it figured out. So it's the analogy I like to give on that. So no different than Maslow's. Physiological needs, quotidian, must sleep, must eat every single solitary day. You have to be working on getting attention every single solitary day. In a word, it means marketing. It's frustrating, I know, because what do almost all artists and photographers suck at? Marketing. What do you all not want to do? Marketing. What do you all never do consistently? Marketing. What do you all secretly wish? That you could just create and you wouldn't have to do anything else and you would get paid for it. That is a rosy world, but it is not the real world. Next block up. And this one, I've sort of set it up where it's got the outer block and the inner block. The outer block is you need to understand the business model if you want to be successful. Okay. I don't know why I've got two twos there. The business model very succinctly is this. You need to be selling direct to your end consumer. There can be no middlemen, and you need to retain the information on your people that purchase. You need to retain that So you can start building a collector list. Okay, what is a collector list? It's a concept I originally took from this gentleman's book. It's called, sorry, Don't Be a Starving Artist. It is by Weiland, otherwise known as the Whale Guy, #1 best-selling artist in the United States, depending on who you talk to. Apparently, it's not even close. A collector list as defined by Weiland. And by the way, I think you guys should all buy this book. It is a phenomenal book, a very, very quick read. And this guy has the credentials that you can believe what he's saying. He's #1 best-selling author or artist in the United States. So he defines a collector as someone that will buy in upwards of 8 pieces of art from him over the course of a lifetime. And there is VIPs, right? There is Patreons, if you like. And what he does is he treats these people like VIPs. He puts them on the Christmas card list. Okay. He interacts with them often. He sends personalized emails. And as time goes on, that list continues to build. As time goes on, you get better, your prices increase, and the collectors go along for a ride with you. And I would judge, having done this for a while, having seen everyone's data, I would judge the collector list, the size of a collector list and the health of a collector list as either the #1 or #2 most important metric for an art business right now. It is that important. And an analogy, a way to think of the collector list is you guys are all just commission salespeople, okay? You are commission-based salespeople, meaning if you have a good year and you get out there and you sell and you make sales, then you can make some money on that. But what happens when you don't sell anything? You don't make any money, okay? A collector list is essentially you being that same commission salesperson, except now you have a base salary. Now you have a base salary of like 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, $70,000 a year that you get paid just for creating and just as a result of getting out of bed in the morning. That is how important a collector list is. Let me define that further with some simple math. You're a painter, you're a photographer, you just came out with a brand new series, and let's just say there's 10 pieces in it, okay? Out of these 10 pieces, you're gonna release it to the public on Wednesday and try and sell all of them. On Monday, you email your collector list and you say, hey, collectors, patrons, thank you so much for all your support over the years. I'm coming out with a brand new series. I'm really, really excited to debut it. Because you guys have been loyal collectors for as long as you have, of course, I'm gonna show it to you before I show it to anyone else. And no pressure to buy, just wanted you to see the latest and greatest from me. And what ends up happening is they buy some portion of the works before the public even gets to see it. In some cases, once you start out, it's really small. Maybe one out of the 10 pieces sell, so 10%. Once you get rolling though, it becomes 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. And the goal eventually is to get it to 100%, where you come out with something new, your collectors buy it, and the public can't even get it. And it drives your prices up. It is fundamentally one of the most important aspects of an art business, without question. In understanding this, both the business model and the collector list is so important, and so many people are not doing it. And it breaks my heart to see it, because the collector list is the #1 thing that you need. It's either the #1 or the #2 most important metric in the business. We can talk about the other one in a minute. Once you have attention and you understand attention and you're working on attention on a daily basis, you have the business model sorted, you're working on a collector list. Every artist, every photographer needs to be aware that there are 3 ways to sell art, okay? There are 3 ways to sell art, and you need to be using each of the 3 when the situations call for it, okay? And Roth, I see your question. It's a good one. I'll answer it in a sec. So only 3 ways to sell art, okay? #1 way, the best way, trick question, right? It's in person, face to face. Always has been, always will be. Problem though, we are, all of us, geographically fixed on this earth. We have to sleep, and we can't have 15 conversations at once. So we need the worst way to sell art, which is actually your website. It's the worst way out of the 3. We're gonna get into that more. But the website is still very important. It solves for all of those aforementioned situations where someone's not in your hometown, where you're asleep, and when you have 30 people on your website at a time. All of that is seen to from the website. So the website's critically important. The #3 way though, the newest way, okay, which is essentially the most awesome advancement that has come to an art or photography business since forever, is via live video. It's what we're doing right now. And that happens in a one-to-one fashion, and it also happens in a one-to-many fashion. Let me explain some examples. So, all right, Rafa, let's say I come to Rafa's website and I look at a piece, or I saw something you shared on Instagram and I'm like, whoa, That thing's awesome. And I contact him. Let's just say it was on Instagram, and I send Roth a direct message on Instagram. Hey, Roth, I was interested in one of your pieces. I was wondering if we could jump on a Zoom call and you could explain your inspiration and a couple of the sizes. And I had some questions. And he goes, no problem, Patrick. Here's a link to the Zoom session. And we jump into a call. I get to meet him. I get to start building a rapport with him. He gets to show me some of his pieces, talk about the inspiration, talk about the pricing, what he thinks the best media types are if I'm ordering a print. That's the one-to-one version. There's also a one-to-many version. What is the one-to-many? It's this concept of a live art show. Okay, this is a concept the entire art selling world is trying to figure out all at once right now because it represents the future. And here you have the painter. He is in his garage studio and he has some artworks in his hand and he's talking about them and he's letting people know they're for sale. And he's talking about his inspiration and he's holding them up to the camera and he's going through showing the details. And this particular gentleman, longtime friend and Art Storefront's customer, over a 15-day period, which I think constituted 2 sales. Yeah, here's the other one. He sold 62 pieces for a little bit over $30,000 Canadian. He did not have to leave his house. He did not have any 50-50 revenue splits. He just absolutely amazing results, right? Phenomenal results. So what happened after this? We saw these results and we're like, whoa, this is super interesting. Let's see if we can duplicate it. One thing before I get into the duplication, the live art show, the one-to-many live art show, okay, it works as well out of your garage studio as it does if you actually have a gallery show. Now, he had a gallery show that was scheduled in the middle of COVID. Obviously, attendance was going to be low. People had to do masks, the whole thing. What happens? Then next day after the gallery show, you turn the cameras on and you walk through the show just like somebody was in the gallery with you, just like they were there on opening night. They're asking questions about the work. You're responding directly. You're literally walking through as the show was hung, explaining your inspiration. This is the next best thing to actually being there in person. It is profound. So we saw some incredible results with this. And so we went all the way into the deep end. We said, can we duplicate the results that we've gotten? So here's another artist, Art Storefront's customer. Her name's Meg. She's a painter from Kansas City. And I mentioned earlier, and she was, in her case, she was actually moving from, she had a studio space and she was either upgrading it or doing something, moving to a different part of the building or whatever. And so she's like, I've got all these stuff I need to get rid of. They're color studies, they're smaller pieces. And so she had a sale. There were 80 pieces in the sale. Remember when I said earlier about the collector list? There were 80 pieces in the sale. She was going to run the sale on a Wednesday. She emailed her collector list on a Monday. The collector list bought 46% of the show straight out of the gates, 46%, boom. And she had the sale. And I think in total, she sold 62 pieces. And again, like, look, they're color studies. It's like watercolor and paper, whatever. It's not even, they're not even like big pieces, but she sold, I think 60 of the pieces for a little bit over $12,000. Phenomenal results. What have we done since then? We just keep running them and running them and running them and getting better with different customers, different types of work, different personalities, different size social followings. And this is the future of selling art and photography, full stop. And let me tell you, everyone in the entire art selling world is trying to figure it out at once. And, you know, we talk about how we're doing this with our customers and getting good at it, figuring out what software to use. Oops, I lost it. Figuring out what software to use and what are the best times and how do you handle price and how do you quote price and what equipment do you need and what equipment do you not need and what does the internet connection of your house have to be, and on and on and on. So we're figuring it out. We're hacking at it. What about the rest of the art selling world? Your industry is not an industry with a tremendous amount of reports. This one is called the Art Market 2021 report by Art Basel and UBS Global Art Market. And in here, it used to be this really cool website section, but for whatever reason, this thing has been down. I don't know. It's like not a good look, Art Basel. You need to fix that. But let me just tell you about the report, and don't worry, I'm going to share this with you. Show you the link. The global art market in 2020: dealer sales, auction sales, art fairs, online sales, global wealth and collector perspectives, economic impact and conclusions. And so what they outline in this particular report is really, really interesting. Essentially, over the last year, they saw a tremendous amount of growth in sales to HNWs, high net worth individuals, via what they call OVRs, online viewing rooms, essentially just fancy Zoom calls. Now, this report, it essentially surveys the top 5% of the art market. So it's not where most people are at, but it's indicative of what they're trying to figure out. They are the major galleries, Sotheby's, Christie's. They are willing to jump on Zoom calls with prospective high net worth individual buyers and the artist at any point in time to move the art. And that was a tremendously successful prospect that throughout the entire pandemic. So everyone in the world is trying to figure out how to leverage these live art shows to best sell works. And it is without question, okay, the newest, latest, and greatest way to sell art. And when you think about it, it really makes a lot of sense. Okay. You know, I go back to my 3 ways of selling art. If the best way is in person, face to face, then let's just talk about that for a second. Okay. So the best way to sell art is in person, face to face. So let's take it to the real world example. If that's the best way to sell art, in person, face to face, that would just be like you having a gallery in your hometown. I can walk in, I can meet you, get to know you, look at the pieces, develop a rapport with you, potentially purchase. Okay. What about for those aforementioned reasons, the people that don't live in your hometown, right? Well, okay, the next best thing to me being able to walk into that gallery is me being able to walk into that gallery like I showed you, you know, in Matthew's example. I mean, this is so close to actually being at that gallery opening, to actually having, you know, being there opening night, or if it's a one-on-one to being there, this is the next best thing. It's not even close. It's phenomenal how close to the real world example this is, okay? And what is the worst way of the 3? The website. That would be like having your gallery doors open, right? And no one there to help them. That's what essentially that is. And I think more than anything else, like Arts Reference, what do? We come up with the latest, greatest ways to sell art and market art and grow an art business. We figure them out before anyone else does, because we're the only ones that we know that are working full time at this problem. And then we teach our customers. I mean, that's essentially what we do at the end of the day. But let me finish the report, and then we can get back to it. So once you understand attention, once you're working on it on a daily basis, once you understand the business model, okay, and have this going and have a collector list that you're building and taking care of, the top block is everything else, okay? It is everything else. We have never met a revenue source that we don't like. So you're telling me you have a gallery relationship, in your town, it's working well for you, fantastic. Keep that thing going, but not at the expense of getting attention every day, not at the expense of the 3 ways to sell art and building a collector list, okay? So what else is in this block? Show and TheraCircuit. The show and TheraCircuit, by the way, is coming back. We should talk about that. You know, one of the nice things of having 5,800 customers is they are spread all across the United States and every place imaginable, and lots of places in the world. We had an artist 2 weeks ago in Chicago, did $30,000 on a Saturday on a show he's been doing for years. He said it's the best results he's ever seen. He said the place was going absolutely crazy. Wonderful. Show and TheraCircuit, loved it. In addition to building attention every day, in addition to the 3 ways of selling art. So too, if you have online galleries, Saatchi, fine art, any of the like, you know, everything else. But that's the pyramid. It is critically important. It's critically important that you understand it and you start working towards it. And, you know, one of the things I say all the time, but it's so true, week in, week out, I'm having these calls. Week in, week out, I'm talking to folks just like you. Week in, week out, there are people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and occasionally people in their 90s coming onto these Zoom calls. Why do I bring that up? The perspective of how long you have at this particular career. You guys are not like other people. This is not, you're not an artist and born an artist or born a photographer, and then all of a sudden you have a midlife crisis and you give it up. Everyone sticks to this craft for the rest of their lives. So contemplate how much time, if you have not been understanding the pyramid, if you've been not having the correct business model, you have to work at this, right? You have a long, long time. You have decades, probably several decades. So it makes sense to get things right this time. And you know what? All the time, I'm talking to people in their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, their 70s, and they did not understand that they needed to build a collector list, and they were not working on their marketing, and they don't even have anyone to market to. They had people that sold their art for them, and that was wonderful, and it worked, and it's incredible, but those days are done. Those days are not coming back in the same strength that they did. The number of galleries that closed as a result of COVID, how many of those are going to open back up? TBD, not certainly to 100%. And I believe this industry is having its Blockbuster Netflix moment. It's having its taxi cab Uber moment, and there's no going back. So the understanding the business model, the building the collector list, the working on your marketing, the deploying the 3 ways to sell art are all critically important. If you start doing that, and you work in earnest on that, and you do so consistently all year long, you are on the path to building a healthy and sustainable art business that will pay you, in which you control the rules, in which you're actually building something for the future. If you don't, you're going to potentially be in the exact same situation you're in now, where things were going good, a pandemic hit that no one ever saw, and boom, right? And what do you have? You've got nothing as a result of it. So that's my rant. That's what I think is critically important to understand. That is what we advocate. That is what we go all in on. That is what we teach, and we think it's the strategy to use. So, at that point, I will open it up to Q&A, and a couple of different ways to do the Q&A. One, if you're one of the brave ones with your camera on, which looks like just like Catherine and right now, if you've got a question and you want to do the old school hand raise, okay, I'll see that, or members of my team will see that and tell me. So you can do it that way. For everyone else, there is a reactions button at the bottom of the Zoom window that will allow you to digitally raise your hand. And so I'll see your hand is raised. I'll know you have a question. I can unmute you, get to your question. If you don't want to turn your camera on, you don't have to turn your camera on. I get it. I hate being on video. Okay, I totally get it. So you can ask your questions just via audio, all good. Yes, I'm seeing the questions in the chat. Yes, I'll get to all of those. Don't worry. And yes, Janice, I see this. You're 73. Yeah, you've got decades left to sell your art, and potentially a business to pass off to someone else if you're so inclined. So still lots of time. And then again, you know, if you're on any of the socials and you want to leave a comment there, I will hear those and I will answer those, and yeah, we can just go from there. All right, Roth, I'm going to start with you because you had one of the earliest questions. I'm going to unmute you, and we can start with your first one and then go. And let me just read your first one, Rotha, so I can give everyone context. But so he asked, what if he hasn't made any sales? What if he's just getting started? How does he get going on his collector list, right? How do you build a collector list if you're not making sales? Early on, Rotha, you treat every single solitary person that's on your email list as a collector. It's sort of like you need to prime the pump, right? You know, if you're out on the street busking, playing street music, and you put out a tip jar, when no one's looking, you put a couple of dollars in there yourself, right? Just to get people tipping. You got to get the thing moving. So early on, you just treat anyone that's on your email list as a collector, okay? And in a way to do this would be, you have a live art show coming up on Wednesday, right? On Monday, you just email everyone on the list, and instead of saying, thank you so much for being my loyal collectors, because you're my loyal email subscribers, I just wanted to give you guys a look before anyone else, right? And so it's kind of one of those things, you fake it till you make it early on.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you had a follow-up question too, I think, right? You said what's more effective, having the artist selling on video or a third party endorsing the artist while presenting? You're not going to like it because most people don't want to do it directly. They want to see you. They want to get to know you. They want to hear what makes you tick, right? They want to see that you're a real human being. They want to see your dog run in and bark at you halfway through the show. Like, these are the types of things that people love to see. So the good news is, you know, this COVID has utterly, totally, and completely changed the game. No one gives a damn about lighting or how good the audio is, or if it's a broadcast quality camera. What you're doing right now suits. Everyone understands it. Everyone does it. We all had to do video chats. This is just a new world that we live in.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So go for it. Don't even be scared. Just say, all right, I'm going for it. And don't worry. You know, I always forget what his name is. Is it Reid Hoffman? I get him confused with one other, but he's the guy that started LinkedIn. Find out if that's Reid Hoffman or if it's Reid. I hate that I screwed that up. Anyway, he's got this line about startups, which essentially you are. It's art world, I know, but if you're not embarrassed, Rotha, by your first version, you've launched too late. Truth. Like, so many things go wrong. You know, it is Reid Hoffman. Okay, I had it right. So many things go wrong in the process, and the only way that you learn and get better is if you just start going, right? If you just start going at it. Okay, Natasha, you had your hand up and then you put it down. Do you still have a question? Okay, I'm going to unmute you. Got you next.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Thanks God, well, my art I think is nice and
Mhm.
everybody like it when it see it. But what I really is hard for me is try to find a gallery. So
Mhm.
all the sales that I make are making for me.
Wonderful.
So it's I don't have nobody like represents me or a gallery that actually I never have a show. I never been in a solo exhibit.
Mhm.
I just have exhibits with another artist and I have to pay for being there.
Yes.
So I make a technique, a mineral, and I have the patente. I have the patent.
Mhm.
So it's really good art, but I just can't I don't know. I don't know how to do it. Like find a representative of have a gallery
You don't,
because
you do not need a representative in the slightest. You just need to keep doing what you're doing. And you know, the long and the short of it, if you're selling direct and it's working, right, and you're retaining that customer information, why would you want to go and get a gallery that's going to take a
because I
50%
wanna
cut and is not going to give you that information?
no, I understand that, but I wanna have a show, like to be able to all the people can see my art.
Yes.
But in every gallery that I go and I trying to, to be accepted,
Mhm.
they reject me or they want like 3K, like $30,000 for one show, and they don't even say that you are gonna sell. They just
Of
want
course
to
not.
do
Of
the
course not.
show and
So look, let's do the math, okay? And let's say what part of the country do you live in? Where do you live?
New York.
Okay, so you live in New York. How many different retail spaces do you know that have businesses that are out of business right now, right? So I would figure out who the landlords are. I would say, I'm a local artist trying to make it. I was wondering if I could rent your building for the night to have a show and then have a show on your own. And let's say that that ends up costing you $1,000. Okay, fine. $1,000. Let's just put that to the side for a second. Now, instead of doing that, you're going to go to the gallery. And to the gallery, you're going to be like, okay, I want you to do a show for me. I'm willing to give you 50% of the proceeds, and you're going to keep all the information on the collectors. And then you're going to invite as many people as you know to show up. And if any of them buy any of your art, you're going to take a 50% haircut. So let's say you sell 10,000 at that gallery show, $5,000 is gone. Poof. And you do not keep any information on those people. So you can't market to them in the future. Whereas if you just would have done my idea, you would keep all that information, number one, and you would keep 100% of the proceeds. And so you'd only be out the $500 that you're going to have to pay the building owner for the night. Don't think you need a gallery. You do not need a gallery. And the only reason you would go into a gallery is so that they bring collectors that you wouldn't otherwise have access to. But again, this is my whole argument. You have to do the gallery in addition to doing it all on your own, because that is actually how you build a sustainable business. And you don't, you do not need a gallery to sell art. It does not have the same level of prestige as it used to. And the fact that every sale you have, you need the information on that person so you can market to them for the rest of your life. It is a night and day difference in terms of the business you're able to build. So I think you're 100% on the right track. I think you're putting up roadblocks for yourself. You could have the show in New York any weekend you wanted. There's so many vacant places, and you could promote the hell out of it and go in there and do it. Or you could
thank you.
have one in your apartment and you could turn on the video camera. Well, apartments in New York are small. I know. I know they're small. They're especially small. But you could, even better, you could go and find, one of those businesses that is completely empty, and you tell them you're going to give them $500 for the night, and they're going to be so stoked because they're trying to get people back in anyway. And then have the show, sell as much as you can, and then the next day or that night, have your friend grab the phone, turn it on, go live on Instagram, and have them walk through the entire show with you. Now you just had 2 shows for one.
Thank you.
And send me a flyer.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to see it. I want to see it. But you don't need a gallery. And also too, especially given the world that we live in now, where pre-pandemic, let's keep the math simple, there were 1,000 galleries. Okay. The pandemic wiped out probably 500 to 600 of them. So there's 400 galleries left. Now there's 400 galleries left, and there used to be 1,000. The number of artists hasn't changed in the slightest. And so now the galleries that did make it, they have their pick of whatever artist they want. And for every artist that they have their pick of, there's 50 artists behind them that are begging to get into that gallery. And so what does the gallery do? They go, I have all the power here. So instead of a 50-50 split, I'm going to do a 60-40 split. And instead of the 50-50 split in which the artist gets paid immediately, I'm going to do a 60-40 split in which the artist gets paid in 60 days. That model is done. It's exploitative. It's not right. And it's not going to continue. And you don't need it. You don't need it. All right. That's my gallery pep talk. Where are you from originally, by the way?
I'm from Venezuela.
Venezuela. Nice. Juan, say hi. We have someone from Venezuela on this call. You might not be. Could you say hi, Juan?
Hi, Juan. Oh, nice.
See, weren't expecting that, were you? Huh? Oh, there's always some surprises. There's always some surprises. But thank you for the questions. All right. What else? You guys are a shy bunch today. Let me know if you have questions. Otherwise, I'm going to keep working through the chat. But you know, while I'm going through the chat, oh, I see Ann. I'll get you. Ann will be first, and then I'll get into the chat. And you'll need to unmute Ann. It's like yeah, gotcha.
Hi, I am wondering. It's so funny. You know, the conceptual art. You know how the art mob is if you're too commercial, there's a fine line between marketing as a fine artist and then as a commercial artist. So when we make my website, I'm brand new, we can do it to fit that. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I'm questioning the validity. It used to be that you couldn't. I mean, I went to art school, big deal, right?
Yep.
It really doesn't matter. I know that.
Yeah.
And I also know that the quality of the art really has very little to do with whether or not you sell.
Yep.
So do you have different, when we do my website, will they approach it?
No.
So
matters absolutely not one iota, not one single solitary bit. The website is the least important of the whole thing. It just is straight up. I mean, don't get me wrong. Our websites are beautiful. You're going to look classy. You're going to look amazing. We have artists that sell over $1 million in these websites. They're great. But in terms of what you're talking about, how you're perceived or you know, how you're viewed and whether or not it's going to get you to the next level, completely inconsequential in my mind. It's not how it looks at all. And, you know, one of the interesting things that I look at on a regular basis and I find mega fascinating is, and I think everyone should buy this book too, The $20 Million Stuffed Shark, The Curious Economics of Contemporary Art. Now, it's like 10 years old now, okay, the book, but I still like the data on this quite a bit. And let me just give you the context, Dan, and tell me whether or not this is where you're shooting.
And the name of the book, I didn't get it.
Oh yeah, we're going to email you links after the fact. It's $12 million.
Great. Okay.
It's a $12 million Stuffed Shark, The Curious Economics of Contemporary Art. You know, a lot of it's about Damien Hirst, but it's just about it's just really, really good to like explains the whole market. And this is one of the things that I love quoting in there. So, and again, 10 years ago, so adjust for inflation and whatever else, right? 40,000 artists in residence in London, 40,000 artists in residence in New York, 80,000 artists total, right? Out of the 80,000, 75.09% are the superstars. They're making over $1 million a year on their art, right? 0.09%, 75 out of 80,000. Next row down, mature, successful, six-figure a year plus artists. So everything over six figures all the way up to under $1 million. They have mature gallery representation, big names, they're doing well. 300 out of the 80,000. That's 0.38%, okay? 0.38% out of the 80,000. Then the next tier down, of which there are 5,000, and I'll quote on this one, the 5,000 artists who have some representation, most in a mainstream gallery, and who supplement their income through teaching, writing, or support partners. Essentially, out of those 80,000, 6.72% are actually making a living off the craft. That's how narrow that particular high-end hoity-toity world is. Now, before we focus on that as doom and gloom, I've got a tremendous amount of customers. I got to look at all their data. We have a great many that are over six figures a year and that have fantastic businesses. We have a great many that are under that threshold and doing well and kicking butt across the board with all of them. You know, where I imagine you are aspirationally looking to go, like being thought of as like one of those top tier artists, that's almost like winning the lotto. Like the numbers are so.
Oh, I know that. Oh, no,
Yeah.
no. Yeah, don't worry. I'm not worried about that. I
Yeah.
would love to fall into the 6-figure category.
Yeah, 100%. And it just goes back into my whole presentation. Like, it wouldn't matter what website you had, or if you even had a website. If you have attention, you can do anything. So the whole game just comes down to attention, and how good you are at attention, how good you are at marketing, really, right? And how consistently you do the marketing. And my biggest, the ones that break into that upper niche, and I still like aiming for that, because aspirationally you set a goal at 10x and you land at 3x, right? If you set a goal at 3x,
Right,
you land at, like,
exactly.
1x.
Yes.
So all the ones that are on that list, top selling contemporary artists, which is a very small group, they all hacked attention early on, one way or the other, and they're all really good at it. And as a result of having it, then they can, everyone wants them, right? Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
Going back to Natasha's point, like, I would never imagine going to a gallery hat in hand and saying, can you please take me on? No, I want them breaking my doors down. And the way that I'm going to get them breaking my doors down coming to me is if I stay at my marketing really consistently. I have an incredible Instagram following, incredible Facebook following. I'm kicking butt at my marketing, and it looks like it. So that's what we teach people to do all year long. That's what we do. It's the most important thing.
That is great. That is just wonderful. I'm really excited. I think this is wonderful. No aspirations. It'd be wonderful to be a name artist, but I would, and actually I've had shows, I have sales, but the last show I had, the gallery owner told me as he was writing my check that he went from 40% to 50%.
Yeah.
That he was going to keep. Oh, by the way.
Yeah.
Unilateral decision.
No,
and
it's
exploitative.
It's exploitative and infuriates the hell out of me, because the balance, the world changed. Okay. And change happens really slow over a period of time. And so you could say it's been changing for the last 10 years, but that balance of power is so out of whack. Before, it was really, really hard for the artist, for someone like you, to go and get the collectors that the art gallery had, right? And that's what the art gallery.
Oh yeah, they won't tell you.
No, it's really, really hard.
Secret.
Now, there's no one standing in the way. There are no more gatekeepers. Those collectors are just out there waiting for you, and you can grab them, no problem. And you just have to be marketing consistently, and you have to do it for a period of years. And nobody wants to hear that, but that's what it is. And if you do it, you're kicking butt. And what I said about that collector list earlier, make no mistake of how powerful it is when you have it. When you have it, you have a business for life. When you don't, you're in the situation you're in now, right? Like, you were selling fantastic, you were doing great, but you don't know who any of your damn buyers are. And you can't contact them, and you can't send them a Christmas card, and you can't let them know you're having a sale or releasing a new series, and they out of sight, out of mind, out of sight, out of mind.
That's very interesting. This is so encouraging. Now, in my situation, and I'm sorry if I'm taking too much time.
No, please. That's what it's for.
Oh, okay. My husband is very detail oriented, almost said nitpicky, in a good way.
Yeah.
And he will do that end of it. So will my involvement being kind of making personal relationships via this platform, via my website, through you, it'll be like, I will do the PR type stuff. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
And if you do an hour a day, is that gonna do it?
Yeah. So that's a crystal ball question. And let me give you.
Yes, I'm sorry. You're right.
No, but it's important. It's important. And the reason it's a crystal ball question is the premise, the premise underpinning the question is deeply flawed. And the premise is that there is some sort of magical formula that works for everybody. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Of course. And I can completely understand that.
Yeah. But here's how I answer it, though. And by the way, the variations of this question, again, are how many hours a week do I have to work on my marketing? What are the best selling sizes? If I just know what the best selling sizes are and I put those in my business, boom, my business will go. What are the most important media types? If I just add the most important media types, then boom, my business will go. And again, it's just, there's no formula that works for everybody. So what I would say in terms of the marketing, it's less about how many hours a week you have to give me, and more about you committing and giving me those hours week in, week out for 52 weeks a year.
Got-
and that's what no one does. And that's what no one ever does. Everyone goes, this is going to be my year. Anyone, this sound familiar to anyone on this call? This is going to be my year. I'm going to take my business seriously. I'm really going to start marketing. If this doesn't sound familiar, next we'll do the New Year's resolution of this is going to be my year when I work out and go to the gym. Okay. It's the same thing. What happens, right? 1 month, 2 months in, I'm starting to get a little bored. It's cold outside. I'm not going to go to the gym, right? Or I'm going to quit, because no one ever tells anybody the perspective of how long it takes to actually build a business and how long it takes till you start building momentum. So what ends up happening, you figure out what your hours you can give, and you start giving the hours. Month, it's different again for everybody, but let's just say either month 3, 6, or 9, when you've been at it that consistently, right about at the point in time when you're thinking about breaking, you actually start harvesting some awesome from all that hard work, right? And what ends up happening, in my experience, is it fills up the emotional tank, right? Like you get a win or an interior decorator. And then what I end up seeing happening is, let's say you were committed to giving me 2 hours a week. The next thing you know, I'm like, whoa, Anne's really working it now. Now she's giving me 5 hours a week. And that little delta just happened because the emotional gas tank got filled up, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you. I'm so excited. We just joined and we're really excited.
Oh, awesome.
So
I love that you came to this after you just joined. We've got work to do. Have you gone through the onboarding stuff yet?
some of it. And I got out my my thumb drive with my professionally photographed pieces, and apparently quite a few, and I cannot wait. And if I can go see, you just mentioned what sizes sell, what media sells. Do you have records of that kind of stuff that I can look at?
Yeah, we have a bunch of like guidelines that we gave you, but one, by the way, I love when you join, because what's coming. 4th quarter, the most art photography sells, period. 4th quarter.
No clue. I don't know.
Don't worry. No, this is all the stuff you're going to learn. So here's the advice that I would give you. One, you got to go through our whole process, the onboarding. We have Zoom calls like this inside with our customers. And so 2 days a week, you can come on these things, but don't waste too much time on the website. Okay. I want you to upload a logo, type up your about me, get your doggone images in, and then start marketing. That's the ball game. So don't spend, 10 days tops, 14 days tops.
Okay.
And put your husband on some of the detail oriented tasks, and then let's get going.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
And welcome aboard. And I find
Thank
your hair,
you.
and I find your hair to be jazzy. I find your hair to be jazzy. So I will see you inside the Zoom.
Thank you.
I like it. I like it. Welcome aboard. Okay. Let's see if there's questions in the chat, or if any of the rest of you want to raise your hand or raise your hand digitally. Again, if you've got questions, it's the reactions thing at the bottom, and then you can just do the raise hand thing. You can see I just did it. I just raised my own hand. I'm gonna unraise my own hand. Okay. What was on here? It's Monday. Everyone's quiet after the long weekend. All right, I got Natasha's question. My phone's exploding today. Yeah, Janice Margolis is how to post a link to collect emails. We teach you a whole bunch of different ways to do that. It's just part of normal marketing, so we do literally all year long. VV's asking questions about the NFT market, which is really interesting because now the NFT market is completely crashing. I'm gonna unmute you, though, VV, because I love talking about NFTs. Are you there? And you'll need to unmute.
Yeah. Hey, Patrick. Thank you.
Yeah. No problem. So. And I always say this, huge crypto nut, love the blockchain, love all the blockchain portends. I want to see the new version of the internet. I want the decentralized Facebook. I still buy crypto all the time. I'm holding it. I love following it. And if you've followed crypto for any long period of time, you're well aware of sort of cyclically how it's gone, which is everyone gets real hyped up. And then it's all fired up and the prices are crazy. And then boom, it comes crashing back down to reality. And there's an extremely long winter. My guess with NFTs is the winter is upon us now. It launched with a big boom and fanfare, and now the winter's upon us. I think long-term NFTs will be an absolutely amazing thing for creators. Amazing. But I also, having fielded questions on NFTs, and for people that don't know what it is, non-fungible token, it's a It's just crypto. Don't even ask for the explanation. It's too doggone complicated. But having fielded all these questions over this video in the last, like, you know, since it hit, everyone's viewing it. I mean, it's no different than, you know, the 1849 gold rush, right? Everyone's hearing there's gold in the hills, and they're showing up with their pans and their pickaxes. And you know, you should be selling shovels or pickaxes rather than being the one doing the mining. There's a lot of hype to it, but it adds a tremendous amount of friction to the process. One, listing it, one, paying the gas fees, then getting it up. And, you know, the reality is that if your art wasn't selling not as NFTs, your art is not going to sell as an NFT. It's not like a be all cure all, just magical marketplace where things sell. You know, the ones that are selling a ton have been at it for a long period of time. Like, you know, they have deep crypto following. But the good news too in all of it is, I don't believe it's a sale that goes down in the NFT world is a sale that didn't go down in the normal art world. Meaning, it's not taking away from the traditional art and photography market sales, and it's an expansion of the market. It's a bunch of the crypto millionaires buying these things for fun, right? Which is
right.
awesome. But what I think is really interesting, you know, and everyone thinks too, especially with like digital artworks, like, you realize when you buy an NFT, it's just the smart contract, and, you know, you own the token, and you can put whatever you want legally into the smart contract, right? But there's no delivery of the actual asset that takes place. Like, if I've got this photo behind me, right, and I want to sell it as an NFT, and you buy the NFT, you own the NFT that says you own the photo, but I still have to email you the photo, right? And I can make a million copies of it if I'm so inclined, and I could spread it all out over the internet, right?
You wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
that would be career suicide.
It would be disreputable. Certainly it would. But, you know, the larger point is, like, for most artists, I don't think that just making things NFTs is the promised land. But what no one's talking about.
I didn't mean that. Yeah. My question, sorry, respectfully, my question is there a way, or how would integrating that into an art storefront, or how could it be done in such a way that it is just another avenue? Because it is really exciting there. I mean, even making a small sale on an NFT could potentially have huge consequences, huge benefits in the long term, especially as crypto rises again. If we are in a slump, whatever.
Yeah.
And residual, and residuals as well, secondary sales. These are things that